Live now. Stop. Whenever you're ready to talk.
Good morning. Welcome to the Pam and John radio show. I am sitting in this morning for Pam and John. I am Daoud El-Amin, aka No Covers, your host. Mom used to always tell me a long time ago, time and unforeseen circumstances befall us all. So I'm running a little behind this morning, but we're going to make it happen anyway for Pam and John. I hope everything's going all right with them. They'll be back in the shop in a little while. You can always find us at on Facebook Live this morning. We're on live now. You can catch us there. And let's get started for the day. Pam and John usually go through the events for the week and things like that. So I'm going to try to keep to their format, and then I'm going to go into a little of the No Covers format and things I try to do. Coming up this weekend, you got a couple. Of course, we got the fair that's still in town. Be tuned in for that. I see on Saturday the 4th, there's an evening with Freda Payne and the Supremes, formerly of the Supremes, over at Stadium Hall downtown Wilmington. Presents the evening with Sherry Payne and of the Supremes and Freda Payne, excellent high energy R&B soul music. So you can check that out this weekend. You have the Farmers Market, of course, on Saturdays you can go to. There's a Veterans Day kickoff, 5K, that will be presented for the by UNCW military. That kickoff run is at 5K at the UNCW Military Resource Center. That's on Saturday as well. And also on Saturday, November the 4th, there is a SWAB event, which we're going to talk about later on today. The SWAB event is at the Purpose Church, 1470 Kerr Avenue. And Miss Mildred Bethel will be in the studio a little later on today to talk about the SWAB event and talk more about that. So we'll get to her in the second half of the hour with the SWAB event. Pam and John, as usual, they go through the birthdays. I couldn't find a lot of birthdays this morning. But I did find, of course, you all know with No Covers, we do the African-American history. So there's a little Black history. Since I'm sitting in today, I think I could bring my Black history in. There's a little Black history we want to talk about today that happened. November the 2nd, 1983. November 2nd, 1983 was the signing of the bill by President Reagan that established Martin Luther King as a holiday. The holiday of Martin Luther King, when we have the big festival downtown with the parade, understanding that was years. You got to remember the movie, the song by Stevie Wonder, Happy Birthday to You. That was a dedication that really that committee was pushing with Dr. King's widow to get for years. Jesse Jackson was involved for years to get that into place. So November the 2nd, 1983. The bill was signed by President Reagan. That's one of President Reagan's highlights. And it's interesting that we had a Republican president to do that. President Reagan, he made sure that before he left office, that day would go into existence, and we still celebrate it to this day. The birthday today is also Paul Robeson Jr., not senior, but Paul Robeson Jr. Today is his birthday. Paul Robeson Jr. was the son of Paul Robeson Senior, and we know the things that Paul Robeson went through, being exiled from the country, had to go overseas at a certain time period for some of his political actions. Was called a communist at times. But his son was asked a question because his son had a interesting life. He had to live behind his father. Now, you're a father figure. Sometimes you're out there and you're out in the public, and a lot of times, even with us as lay people, we have to go through that with our children. They have to come behind and live those shoes. But I never forget, his son said this. They asked him, what was it like to fill his father's shoes? And he said, when asked whether it was difficult being in his father's shadow, Robinson Jr. said that his father once told him this: if you want to be somebody, you're going to have to be yourself. You can't copy anybody else, especially me. He said, so I never remember having any need to compete with him. He gave me a sense of being my own man. If you want to be somebody, you're going to have to be yourself. And that's something we all need to take into consideration. You want to be there. You want to do things. You have to learn just to be yourself. And Lord knows, I thank God I finally in my later life learned how to be myself. Haile Selassie today was crowned Emperor of Ethiopia in November. Haile Selassie, that is Haile Selassie was considered Ethiopian. Anyone can know anything about reggae music. In reggae music, Haile Selassie is highly respected. He's considered, when you hear the Rasta say Jah Rastafari, they're talking about Haile Selassie. He was the Emperor of Ethiopia, and his coming in their terms of Rastafarianism, we believe he was the crowning of lineage of King David. And when he ran the Italians out of Ethiopia and took over that country, it entered in what the Rastas call a new day. And something interesting happened this day in 1875. And I want you to buckle up here, Wilmington, because I'm going to talk to about this for a few minutes. Today in 1875, November the 2nd, was the first day of the Mississippi Plan. Now, you all are familiar with 1898 here in Wilmington. Will be interested to know that the Mississippi Plan in 1875 was really similar to what happened here in 1898. But in 1875, they did it throughout the state of Mississippi. The Mississippi Plan went into effect, and here the state government tried to prevent black participation using a strategy. The plan was devised by the Democratic Party to violently overthrow the Republican Party by organizing violence in order to redeem the state of Mississippi. Now, I'm going to read that again. Most people don't know history, may say, well, why would the Democratic Party, who works with the blacks, try to overthrow the Republican Party? Well, you have to remember history. During the early days of the history of us coming out of slavery, Republicans were the party of Lincoln who helped free the slaves. So most blacks, until later in the FDR movement, most blacks always were Republicans. So even here in Wilmington, the Republican Party was the party for blacks at that particular time. Now, under the Mississippi Plan, the Southern Democrats had a politically dual strategy. And what they did is they persuaded 8 to 15% of the white voters that were already in the Republican Party. They convinced that majority, all they needed was 10% of the those there to swing to Democratic Party. They wanted to, they put pressure on whites, and what they did was got some of the poor of whites, the poor whites, sounds familiar. The Democratic Party got the poor whites around the state of Mississippi to switch over to the Democratic Party to vote. In the meantime, they used violent suppression at the polls and violent intimidation against all the blacks in the state of Mississippi at the polls to eliminate them from voting in the Republican Party elections, therefore killing that 100% black vote and that 10% swing they had. They were able to take back over the state of Mississippi, and that is called the Mississippi Plan. 20 years later, we would see the 1898 plan here in Wilmington, North Carolina. Just a little history for you this morning to get us started for the day and keep us going. A lot of stuff in the news happening in the news right now, and I'm going to go into what I really want to talk about in the time that I have here this morning, because I prepared a little something before Ms. Mildred come in that I want to talk about. Because we got so much going on in the news. We've got a president that is, I'm still trying to figure out what he's doing sometime. You got that going on. You have the terrorist attack that just happened recently. You had the events out in Las Vegas. You have the situation with the football standing, no standing, non-standing. We have the politics in turmoil. We have people divided, neighbors divided against each other, family members divided against each other, friends and co-workers trying to associate with each other. So I wrote something the other day, and I posted something on my Facebook page. You all know that on my Facebook family, I'm looking at you all now. You know I stay in tune with Facebook. And I wrote something that said, I don't have a special day to tell you that I love you. Today will be just fine. So I want to say to all those listening that I love you. I wrote that for my newly lovely wife. But it went further than that, because a lot of people caught on that it wasn't just for her. It was for people in general. I don't have to have a special day to tell you that I love you. Today will be just fine. We don't tell each other that we love each other enough. And I want to show you how this has affected how we operate with each other right now. My background, I tell everybody, here I am at 50. I'm just learning how, at 53 years old, I just learned how to love recently when I turned about 50. It took me some time to learn how to love. And my background as an African-American male has something to play with that. The mind of an African-American male can be very different. I would say that. My father taught me to hard. He taught me to be hard. He taught me to think hard, to be hard, don't cry, be strong. I never remember my father telling me he loved me. I went to see my father recently at the nursing home, and my wife wanted to meet him, and we've been distant for some years. And I walked in the nursing home. I stayed, for a while, and as I left, I told him I love you. He still couldn't say the words. Some 53 years later, he still couldn't say the words I love you. And a lot of males have been raised that way. A lot of men have been raised that they haven't heard the words I love you. And so therefore it leaves them not able to love. Growing up, I was a non-athletic. My father didn't let me play sports. So of course, the sports, you get all the girls. I was a bookworm. So of course the bookworms don't get that attention. So you don't get that love on that end. And so then it messes up your relationships, because most black men do not teach their sons the proper way to have a relationship. A lot of women are going, and I think it's across the races, men period, don't teach their sons the proper way to respect a woman, the proper way to have a relationship with a woman, the proper way to love a woman. So you go into a situation where you don't really know how to love. Now, I'm going somewhere with this, and I want you to just bear with me this morning, because I want to use that as a backdrop to the current crisis that we face today. Recently, I tell everybody, and anybody watch my page on Facebook, I'm watching y'all now. Recently, y'all know I just got married, and I tell my wife every day that I love her. And my marriage has taken me to another level. I was already going there when I turned 50, but marriage takes you to another level. You start to learn how to love. It takes you to a new approach also when it comes to politics and religion, because when you can learn how to love correctly with people, then you can learn how to actually get past these barriers we have with politics and religion. The reason why we have barriers with politics and religion is because we don't know how to love each other. If we would learn how to just love, that's what Martin Luther King stressed us love so much. I'm on this show right now because I have a relationship with Pam and John, cross races and cross religion, because I learned how to love them as individuals, and they learned how to love me. So we don't, if you already know, we don't mind telling each other, especially on Facebook, that we love each other. And that causes sometimes problem, because people come to me like, how can you tripping? No, I love them as individuals. And so we're able to have a bond of connection together, because we can actually say the words to each other that I love you. Those words are so important as we approach what I'm about to get into. When we have those problems amongst each other, we can't bury the hatchet of getting along with each other. Then the two areas that lead, because I'm going to go to race in a minute, the two areas of politics and religion, if we don't fix that, then what we're going to do is create a society, and what we are doing is creating a society where our children are now sitting in a situation where they're confused. They don't understand why this child at this school and this child at this school have a parent over here who's Republican and a parent over here who's Democrat, who know each other but can't get along with each other. They can't understand why they're sitting in school that this child over here goes to this church and this child over here goes to this mosque or synagogue, but they get along, but the parents don't get along with each other. They get along fine at the playground. They get along fine at the cafeteria. But when they come home to the parents don't get along with each other, because they walk past each other every day and they just can't say, I love you. That is causing a divide in our community. That is causing a divide amongst each other, and that is causing a division among our children. And until we fix those problems, the simple problem of love amongst each other, then we're going to continue to, no matter what Trump's doing, no matter what the political system is doing, we can get past all of what they're throwing out, all of what they're doing, if we get to a certain point where the common people, they can sit together in a room together and love each other. I was at a meeting last night. I had to moderate. We did a movie, Conviction, and you haven't seen the movie Conviction. It's going to be at the Kukaloa special. It's a movie about 3 men, 2 black men and 1 white man, and they were there in Dallas, Texas, and they were exonerees. They came out and were exonerees, and what they did was they started their own organization with an attempt to make sure other people get exonerated from prison. So they had become detectives in Dallas, 2 whites and 1 black. As I watched the story, we were in a room with about 4 blacks, 6 whites, a balanced room. And after the meeting, we had the conversation. And we were all agreeing on, after watching the movie, we couldn't help but all agree on the elimination of the death penalty. We couldn't all help agree that the men that we watched were still plagued by prison. We couldn't all agree that the legal system needed to be fixed. There was a prosecutor that took on one of the gentleman's cases, and I sat back and watched the group because we all chuckled at the comments that came out of his mouth. We were all in agreement. We were all in unity because we were all together in a unified circle, the way we need to be every day in this country, in America. I'm gonna pay some bills right quick, and I'll be right back.
We provide service with a smile. Again, I'm Trina Thomas. Just give me a call at 910-617-7341. If you're looking to purchase, sell, or relocate in New Hanover County or the surrounding areas, just give me a call at 910-617-7341 or via website www.usetrina.com. We can be reached at 910-617-41. Call me today.
This is John from the Wake Up Call with Pam and John, and I've got my girl Pam here talking about Matthews Motors.
That's right. It's so easy to buy a car. I got a car, my daughter got a car, my friends got a car, my cousin got a car. Everybody got a car from Matthews Motors. And I 100% stand behind the crew at Matthews Motors. They are the walking man's friend, and they make it so easy.
Hello, I'm Cooper Barnett, candidate for City Council. Expensive growth is impacting our quality of life in Wilmington. We need more affordable housing for our working citizens. I want jobs that pay a decent wage and more green spaces for our children. I believe in creating solutions to problems, and I'm excited about the possibility of joining City Council to help resolve some of these issues. I'm Cooper Barnett, and I'm asking for your vote on November 7th. My name is the first on the ballot, paid for by the Barnett for City Council Committee.
Crossland Beauty and Barber Supply, 708 South 17th Street in Wilmington has everything you need to look your best. Fingernail polish, lipstick, oils for dreads, eyelashes, Wall and Anditz products, clipper blades, and a whole lot more. Weaves, wigs, and a wide selection of human synthetic hair, Bobby Boss and Vivica Fox hair pieces. Crosslands Beauty Supply specializes in New Balance products and supplies for barbers and beauticians. Has outstanding prices and service. That's Crosslands Beauty Barber and Supply, 708 South 17th Street. Give us a call, 910-523-5681. It is Crossland Beauty and Barber Supply, 708 South 17th Street here in Wilmington, North Carolina.
We're back here at WLTT. Before I forget, we're having a program coming up at Black Friday weekend, the Black Friday version. We're having a program coming up soon on Black Friday. This year we're gonna buy black. So stay tuned for that and get more information that you can find on the website. Now back to where I was talking about love, fixing how we're gonna fix these problems of learning how to love. Where I'm going with this is 40 to 50% of marriages fail in America. That means we have some serious relationship problems. Now, those relationship problems that we have are dwindling into how we deal with each other every day. And I'm going to use an example, maybe off the course, but I'm going to use an example of a sister that recently had some issues with her job. One of the sisters, an excellent writer, took on some issues in our community, and she took them on hard. And she went out there and she was battling and battling and battling. When we don't love correctly, when we treat our love like our relationships, because we don't know how to have proper relationships, then we don't know how to have proper relationships with each other. So what ends up happening is we love you as long as you can help me. Then when you can't help me anymore, I'm done with you. That's our problem. I love you as long as you got something to give me. But when you don't have nothing to give me anymore, do I love you enough to put my neck on the line for you? Do I love you enough to stand with you? Do I love you enough to make sure that justice is done to you? I remember when Judge Goodson had a situation, and we loved Judge Goodson. I remember working with Frankie, LC Dallas Sam in those days. We had an organization called ECHO, and we loved Jackie Goodson. And when a local newspaper came out at Jackie Goodson, we went and stood on the corner with a garbage can, and we burnt papers because we loved Jackie Goodson, and you were not going to defame our sister that way. That was love. So I watched the love that we have for people, and I wonder sometimes, do we have that same drive and energy today that when justice is done wrong to one of us in our community, do we have the love to stand with them in justice? We can fix those just simply by loving the right way, but not loving the way we love our relationship. We love our relationship. We love our girlfriend until an argument comes. We love you until you can't help me no more. We don't love you through the hard times. Thank God I learned how to love. The universality of religion, I call it. Oh, by the way, there's a book coming out soon. You don't know a book coming out soon called How to Love. The universality of religion. Do I love you as a Christian enough that I could take away what I may think or disregard what I may think or go understand what I don't understand, so that we can come up with a common agreement and look at the 10 Commandments and say, do you agree with 10 Commandment number 1? Yeah, I do. Do you agree with 10 Commandment number 2? Yeah, I do. What about 8, 9, 10? Yeah, you know what? I pretty much agree with all 10 that you agree with. Do you agree with love thy neighbor as thyself, doing the others as you're doing to you? Yeah. So we pretty much agree. So the universality of religion should have us to love each other, that I love you enough to go to church and you love me enough to come to mosque, and we all love each other enough to go to synagogue. I don't care what Trump do, that kind of love X's him out the equation. Because there's enough of us going to synagogue, church, and mosque that we can send Trump packing tomorrow if we just love each other enough and do what we got to do. These red states and blue states need to turn to purple states. If you watch my Facebook page, you should have got the picture. You mix all those colors together, you got black in the center, but the red and the blue turn to purple. We need to make these states purple states, meaning we need to find the common denominator. We're not going to agree on everything, but I guarantee you we can agree on 80%. We need to stand by that 80% and force our political officials to agree by the 80% that the common people agree with. See, if the common people get some love among each other, we wouldn't need the government. If the common people got some love amongst each other, the police department could be able to go sit down and have a coffee and a donut, because they wouldn't need to police our neighborhoods, because we be doing it ourselves. Because I love you to watch your house, you love me to watch my house, and we love each other enough to get these drugs out of our corner, because they're not good for our children, because I love your children, you love my children. If we put some love back in here, we wouldn't even need, they can go get they can have coffee and donuts. And as Martin Luther King always taught, the last big piece that we have in loving each other we got to fix is this race problem. If we don't fix this race issue, if we don't start dividing issues among race, it wasn't until, see, I watch, y'all know I do a little sports, so I'm going to do a sport analogy right now. Sometimes we don't understand what happens. So when the owner, or when and I had to explain this to some of my white friends this way, and when I explained it to them, they got it. When the president said SOB, for most blacks, that was like the N-word. It really was. But if you understand where I'm coming from, you will understand. So when the owner said recently about the football players standing that we can't have the inmates running the asylum, see, most people say that was just a play on words, but for a person like me who has studied history, I took that as a racial statement. And people said, why you took that as a racial statement? Well, the last time I checked, the jails is filled with black males. The last time I checked, the inmates, and he was calling inmates, the players of the NFL was 80% black males. So when he said the inmates running the society, he connected the inmates to the jails in the prison the way I called it. And we're not going to have them running the system. Those comments have to cease and they have to be done away with. And the only way we can get done away with is that I have to teach you the language and you have to teach your neighbor the language, but we have to do it in a sense of love. Because if we do it kicking and screaming, fighting, that's not going to get anywhere. I'm learning this concept. I'm saying I'm learning because you all know I used to go off back in the day now. You know, I've had some choice words for a whole lot of people back in the day. So I'm learning this kind. This is something new for me. So I won't, as we walk this path, and you'll see me on the airways. I'm hoping many times from now on, you'll see me, and we'll be discussing in detail because I'm always working on my new publications that I write. I want to share with you since I'm on Pam and John's show, but they always know I'm gonna shoot some shout outs. Go to nocovers.com, pick up my books. I would like to walk this journey with you. I have 2 books out. I have a 3rd book out that will be on pre-order this weekend. It is called Beyond Obama. A lot of things I talk about on some of the Facebook pages will be in that book, Beyond Obama, because I want us to get beyond Obama. We got to deal with, folks, we got to deal with Trump the next 3 years. And you all go back in some of my video tubes. Reason why I got to this thing called love, because I understand that's what's going to get us out this impasse we got. We got to join forces with what's going on right now. I told everybody Obama that Trump was going to win. I knew he was going to win, and I know why I knew he wouldn't win. It's for me, I had to check one of my friends. He was like, well, it sounded like you were supporting Trump. No, I just knew he was going to win. I wasn't a supporter of Trump, but it was time. I'm a very spiritual person, and I read scripture and I study time. That's number 1. Number 2, I know we needed it beyond Obama. I love Hillary Clinton. I love what she stood for. I love Bernie. I love the Democratic Party and what they've done for us. But it was time for us to see the real handwriting on the wall, and I think we see it now. That doesn't mean the real handicap on the wall means we just go select the first Democrat we see and we go put them back in office and think things gonna be sweet. No, the real handwriting on the wall is for us as a community, and especially the community in which I live in. The real handwriting on the wall is now for us to do something for self and see how we can take care of making sure that we have the political, the economical power in our community, that no matter what the president takes down, no matter what the officials do, we have the power in our community to do for self and take care of each other and love each other in the process and love those outside of our community in the same process. So once again, before I go pay some more bills and bring Ms. Mildred on, we are having this coming, and this is a love event. This is going to be a beautiful event. This is where we're going to bring the community together. You remember last year during the Christmas holidays, the Black Lives Movement wanted to boycott Black Friday, and I thought that was ridiculous to me. So we jumped ahead of the gun this year, especially in our community. So we don't care what they're doing nationally. We're going to take care of Wilmington. We said no. If you go on the page at nocovers.com, you will find the North Carolina Black Business Director listing. That's something that we've created. We have a North Carolina Black Business Director. You can go on my website and you can find out where it's at. It lists all of the black business that we have so far in Wilmington. If you're in the listing airways and we do not have you listed in that record, it's free. Get in it now, because when it becomes a mobile app, you're going to wish you got in it. When it becomes an app in everybody's telephone, you will wish that you got in the directory ahead of time, because you'll be first up for the ad apps to be in there. on November the 24th and 25th here at the radio station. We're going to take this whole street here. We're going to block it off. Every black vendor in Wilmington is welcome to come in. Then we have vendors coming from Charlotte. We have vendors coming from Fayetteville. That weekend, we're asking the black community to spend every dollar they got black owned. Go to the black restaurants. You can come by here to get something to eat. Go to the black stores and spend. Buy your Christmas gift at the bazaar that we have out here. You can do what you want to after that weekend. But that weekend, we want to show a force that we're intending to help support our black businesses and keep them in power. So with that, let me keep this black business, this #1 black radio station in town, open, and let me go pay some bills. And we'll be right back in a few minutes.
Can I speak? Love it.
I'm using that chair. Using that chair right there.
Okay, let's go over a couple rules. Oh, this chair over here feels better. That's why I said it. Can I move it?
Yeah, you go right there.
Can I move this one? To here.
Switch that.
This feels better.
You switch my.
Okay, you're not gonna get like too deep on me, are you? Don't go too deep on me.
What we gonna do? You talking?
Okay. Because I'm feeling a little rusty here, but look, I might need to come